Welcome to video 2.5, Detail-Oriented, Exporting Data from Visuals. In the previous video, we used a parameter and slicers to filter and explore a what-if scenario. In this video, we will look at features Power BI provides to let analysts directly access the raw data. We'll start with Power BI Desktop, which has two data access features, Show Data, which displays the data for a visual alongside the chart in a version of focus mode, and Export Data, which writes the visual data to a CSV, a comma-separated values file that you can open in Excel. Next, we'll take a look at the Power BI service, because its data access features are slightly different. In the Power BI service, where you have access to dashboards, you can export the data for a dashboard tile to Excel. You can also open up reports, where Show Data works like in Desktop, but Export Data has extra options. Let's dive in. We'll start by opening up the report from the last video. You could also open the prepared report from code files, drug data video 2.4.pbif. We'll work with the tax scenario so we can see the effect of filters on our data exports. In video 2.2, we introduced focus mode where we can perform analysis on a single visual. Power BI also has a variant of focus mode that includes the data behind the visual. You'll also find this in the ellipsis menu for each visual as Show Data. In this mode, the report canvas is split between the visual and a table of its current data. You can switch between vertical and a horizontal layout. If we go back to the report and apply some filters, add sales perhaps to the tooltips column, and apply our tax scenario, and then back to Show Data, you can see clearly that only the data currently being displayed in the visual is visible in the Show Data table. You'll also notice that taxable sales and sales are different, as taxable sales incorporates the parameter. The other way to get directly to the data is to export it. This is also in the ellipsis menu of the visual as Export Data. It generates a CSV file you can import into Excel. Stash it away somewhere, but remember where. I'm going to copy the path, save the file, open Windows File Explorer with Windows key E, paste the path, and then double tap to open the file in Excel. We can see that it imported cleanly. Numbers are correctly detected, so you can format them as currency if you want. And you can see that it only included data for the one company that we had filtered in. You might notice that taxable sales and sales are different because we had the scenario applied. And you might notice that the date is broken down into 4 columns. This is because we were using a hierarchical date. If you want regular dates, so that you can use Excel functions on dates, you can go back to the report and change invoice date by clicking on the little drop down next to invoice date and changing from date hierarchy to invoice date. This changes our visual, so we might want to put it back later, but for now we can rerun the export. Save that guy, and open the new one in Excel. Here you can see that invoice date came in as a date time, and you can verify this by seeing how the time itself is formatted slightly differently between the cells and the formula bar. So that's about it for showing the data in Desktop. Let's pop over to the Power BI service and see how it compares. Here we have a dashboard. This tile contains a version of one of our pharmacy charts. If you click its ellipsis icon, you'll see Export to Excel. We'll open the result, which is a CSV, in Excel, and you'll pretty quickly see that it's very much like what we got from Desktop. We can also dive into the report. Let's apply our tax parameter and a filter again. And then we can use Show Data from the ellipsis menu, and this is the same functionality we saw in Desktop. Where things diverge a bit, at least at the time I'm recording this, is when we try Export Data, which we can only do from the regular view in the ellipsis menu. The first new option is summarized versus underlying data. In Desktop, we always get summarized data. This isn't a problem because we can always look at the data view to see the raw data. In the service, our end users don't have direct access to the raw data, but let's try underlying data and see what they will see. The second option is file format, where you can choose Excel's native XLSX format or the CSVs that we were looking at before. You may get a note here that underlying data is only available as XLSX. This is fine because it's a compressed format, resulting in smaller file sizes, so you'll want that anyway, at least if you're using Excel 2007 or later. So we'll click Export and open up the result in Excel. Now here we can see the result using an XLSX file is a little more advanced. The data is already formatted as a table, the filters that were applied are called out explicitly at the top, and it includes, being underlying data, the intermediate columns, which we don't see when we export from desktop. We can try again with the other options, summarize data this time, and CSV. And this, you can see, is virtually identical to what we would have got from exporting from desktop. We've now empowered our analysts to slice and dice the data in whatever external tools they want. That wraps up our analytical dashboard example. In the next section, we'll build an example tactical dashboard.